18th. Iowa State won that game 90-64 in Ames. And here in Kansas City, the tip, and Arizona State in the black uniforms, Iowa State in the white, trimmed with cardinal and gold. They are on defense to start. Gabby Elliott fires up the first shot of the game for Arizona State, and Iowa State will push it down court. Their starting five: Jackson, Jada Williams, the transfer from Arizona, Kinsey Hare, Addie Brown, as Ann mentioned, just her 5th game back, so important to this team, all around the leading scorer in the Big 12, Audie Crooks. Arizona State starting lineup: Elliott and Brackens both held way below their average in their win against Arizona in the first round game. But what a last 4 games Eloisa Carrera has had for this squad. Getting things started, Lastier Poa with a 3-pointer.
And Brenda, you and I were talking before the game. For Arizona State, Lastier Poa is known as a defensive menace, but when it comes to March Madness and Big 12 tournament play, she's got to score buckets. So good to see her knock one down for Arizona State.
Jada Williams gets things started for Iowa State. As last night, the Sun Devils beat Arizona 54-51. It was their lowest scoring output in a win this year. Gabby Elliott with the miss from the free throw line.
One of the things to watch for in this game is Iowa State. They're going to want to push plays. They want to be in the open court and get transition buckets. Just like they're a secondary transition 3, and no one's better than Ariana Jackson at shooting the 3 for Iowa State.
She misses a couple on that trip down the floor, the 5'9" junior.
On the other side for Arizona State, they're going to want to control tempo a little bit and try to slow down the Cyclones. They want to keep this game into the 70s. Last time out in Ames, Iowa State was able to put up over 90 points, and that's just too many for the Sun Devils to keep up.
Carrera picked up where she left off last night. She had 16 points to lead all scorers in the win over Arizona. An attempt to get the ball inside to Crooks, and Audie is saying, they were tugging on my jersey. The head coach for Arizona State is Molly Miller. What a turnaround. Best turnaround in program history to get this team to 23-9. The pride of Kickapoo High School in Springfield, Missouri.
And she's got about 50 family members, she said, here in town, because even her husband, Derek, is from Kansas City. So they have a lot of people that came from the Midwest wanting to be here at the Big 12 tournament and watch them win.
There they try to go into Cook. She had 3 defenders around her, and you know that's where Iowa State wants to go, but she was triple teamed when they forced that pass in there.
And talking to Coach Miller before the game, they really want to mix up the defenses that Audie Crooks is seeing. So whether that's single coverage of denying and then also playing in the gap. So you see when that ball is in the flight, Arizona State is on the move trying to deflect that pass.
Few slips already here early. We have that ASB glass floor that is being debuted here at the Big 12 tournament, and a foul committed as Carrera goes to the hoop, and a foul on Iowa State.
Iowa State foul number 8, Jada Williams. That's her first.
That's on Jada Williams. Eloisa Carrera, over the last 4 games, she is averaging just under 16 points a game, 6 rebounds, shooting 69%, and when all season long she averaged about 10 points a game.
I really like her game and how she's elevated here towards the end of the season for the Sun Devils. One thing about her is she actually transferred in from Ole Miss, and she has March Madness NCAA experience, just like Lastier Poa does as well, coming in from LSU. But having that championship type experience and elite level of play in the NCAA tournament, I think that's when you really start to turn up the gears, and that's what you're seeing from Carrera.
A travel called on Addie Brown. Bill Fenley, the dean of Big 12 coaches, the longest tenured coaching staff in the country. 31st season, the winningest coach in Iowa State athletics history. He's 16 all-time on the Division I career list with 821 career victories.
There's not enough time in our 40-minute game to talk about the impact he's had on women's basketball, and we call him the dean of Big 12, but it might be like the president now, because again, year after year, he is turning out successful teams that do get over 20 wins, but then also the community and culture that you see and the fans in the stands showing up here in Kansas City.
So a travel called on both ends of the court. Seems like there's a little bit of slippage happening on this glass floor right now as both adjust in this game. Audie Crook's defender fell to the floor, and Addie Brown misses the shot. So Iowa State having a hard time getting into a rhythm here in the early going. Carrera, and she is fouled by Audie Crooks. So you see what Arizona State is trying to do, attacking in the paint.
Yeah, they're attacking, trying to get downhill and take advantage of that one-on-one. And so you're going to see here, Carrera gets excellent deep positioning, and she's just trying to turn the corner there on Crooks and gets mixed up with her arms there. She's going to take a seat with that first foul for Crooks.
So coming into the game for Iowa State is Elisa Williams to replace Crooks. And the officials are getting together to take a look at something. We will step aside and find out what it is they're going to review as Arizona State up early. Our officials today, Roy Gobayan, Nicole Murray, as well as Iffy Seals. That was on the other end of the court when Audie Crooks had a defender fall down, and she did get the common foul here against Carrera, and so she is on the bench with her first foul. The leading scorer in the Big 12 Conference, the #2 scorer in the country, on the bench right now with her first foul. Eloisa, they also call her El Carrera, at the free throw line. And she buries both free throws. ASU on an 8-0 run. All of those points by Carrera.
And coming off of points off of turnover. So this is what you see a lot when it comes to a conference tournament in March, is you got to get some of the jitters out. And that's exactly what's happened to start with a couple of turnovers for Iowa State. You're playing in a huge arena, new arena, great floor. That's just a little bit of part of the start. But Iowa State will settle in and get their offense flowing.
Brackens with the miss. Jada Williams pushing ahead. Both Addie Brown and Audie Crooks on the bench for the Cyclones. And the foul called on Jada Williams, pushing Lastir Poa into the screen.
That's one thing to watch, because Arizona State, they pride themselves on playing relentless defense, and you see it there in that guard play. Lastir Poa trying to get over top of the screen, but they are going to put a lot of pressure on Jada Williams and Reese Beatty on the top of the key, handling the basketball.
That's her second foul, Williams, so she also goes to the bench here early. Into the game, Deborah Davenport chasing her own miss, and it will stay on this end. Deborah Davenport had 6 points and 8 rebounds in the win over Arizona as Audie Crooks checks back into the lineup.
Eloisa Carrera returns for Arizona State.
And Carrera back onto the court to replace Davenport.
And Brenda, right there, you can see the strategies by both coaches. So when Audie's on the floor, Audie Crooks for Iowa State, they're going to go back with Carrera for Arizona State. That is their big center. So going center to center, anytime one of them goes out, then the other one will go out. You can see that chess piece matches within the rotations.
The kick out to Washenitz, missing. And Reese Beatty pushing up the court. 10 possessions already for Iowa State. 5 turnovers, and 1 of 5, now 1 of 6 from the floor. And a stoppage in play. The shot clock not moving. The officials pointing up toward the clock. It's still on 30 seconds. So some stoppage in play here early. We've already had a review for an unobserved. Now we're looking at a clock issue, kind of a stop and start sort of start in this game.
Yeah, so just add that on top of the jitters, right? Where you can't quite get into flow and momentum. So this is what they're looking for here.
And the clock stopped in the middle of the shot there for Washenitz and never came back on.
And it didn't start, yes, for Iowa State. So we'll want to take a look at that. But you mentioned, Brenda, about the flow and momentum, and that's what basketball is all about, is when you really start to find your groove in the game. And right now, this has just been a little bit clunky with some of the calls and just trying to find each team's momentum.
So you're in the huddle, you're an Arizona State player, an Iowa State player right now. What are you saying to your teammates just to try to get into this game?
To start with Arizona State, I would be instilling confidence and saying we're running our game plan exactly how we want. We're attacking the rim, we're getting to the free throw line.
The game clock will be at 5:08. The shot clock will be reset to 26 seconds.
So good, they have that back. So Arizona State, continue what you're doing playing as a team. On the other hand, for Iowa State, Coach Fenley has mentioned before just playing with poise and running our system, the Cyclone system, not anybody else's game. So just these first 5 minutes are going to be ones where they just want to settle in to the game. And I think that's probably the conversation. Also take care of the ball. You know how it is.
All those things.
Yes, yeah. Stop turning it over.
Arizona State with the basketball. Carrera posting up on Crooks, who already has one foul. She turns, spins. She is really smooth and productive, and already she's in double digits with 10 points early. A 10-0 run for Arizona State.
Iowa State, they haven't scored in 4 minutes. So with Crooks back on the court, you want to try to use her as much as you can and getting her that basketball.
The straightaway shot by Sydney Harris doesn't go down. Iowa State just not getting into a rhythm. 1 of 7 in the early going. Arizona State 23-9 on the year. Coming in here as the number 10 seed in the Big 12 tournament. They need a win to get on the right side of the bubble, as POA and this entire team, you can see how focused they are. They know what's on the line. They want to get in the NCAA tournament, and they've come out playing well. This time it's a foul on last year POA. And all the Cyclone fans in attendance driving down from Ames, Iowa, happy about that call.
Yes, and so this is actually a miscommunication by Arizona State, because a great screen set by Sydney Harris for Iowa State. But if you're a Sun Devil, you got to call that play out so last year POA doesn't run into that and also get run over. And now she has to sit with that foul.
Reese Beatty, the 5'8 freshman with the ball in her hands, tries to get it into Crooks. Again, 3 defenders around Crooks. Washington. Carrera had Addie Brown posted up and was calling for it. Washington, a player that averages about 7 points a game, such a leader on this team. Carrera straight away, and she's got 12 points and hasn't missed a shot. Bill Finley calls a timeout. 17-2 start for the Sun Devils, and it's been about the defense against Audie Crooks inside.
Well, you're going to want to watch it here. This last play, they're trying to get the ball into Audie Crooks. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 people looking. There's 1, 2, 3 all around her that are trying to deflect that ball, because that ball's about 20 feet away. And again, you just have people hovering, playing gap defense, and that's too hard to try to get her an angle into the basket. You see, she's not even on the same side of the court, but there's 2 players focused on Crooks. On that play, I think that's the one that Addie turned it over. But this one, again, 4 players, so they're watching the flight of the ball. So if I was Iowa State, what I would do was try to make crisp passes now, maybe the bounce pass or ball fake, and zip the ball into Crooks, because the lob passes that are trying to go from the 3-point line into the back line of the defense, it's getting deflected and it's getting stolen. So let's see if they can switch up their post-entry passes here coming up.
6 turnovers, 9 points off turnovers for Iowa State, and a whistle and a foul before the shot. Audie Crooks finally got a touch and was going to get a look at a basket. She hasn't even attempted a basket here 7 minutes into the game.
Second team foul.
But the foul called on Carrera, her first. Addie Brown, one of the best at passing to Audie Crooks. Very physical defense from Arizona State. Harris over the top, and Crooks is fouled.
That was a pass that actually got through the defense, but if you saw it there, you have to credit Crooks for, one, catching the ball, two, look at how high she keeps this ball, because she knows there's 3 defenders around her, and she still is able to muscle it up and get to the free throw line. One thing I always think of with post players is how they have to do all of the work before they ever touch the ball, and that's something that Audie Crooks is so good at. I think of like a wide receiver where you have to take off, you have to make a move, you have to get physical, and then you might catch the basketball. And that's what Audie Crooks does night in and night out. You're seeing it play after play. But just a heads up, smart to keep that ball so high and be able to finish.
And she buries both free throws, the first points of the game for the second all-time leader in Iowa State history. She's scored now 2,200 points in her career at Iowa State. First points for Iowa State since the 9:02 mark to start this game. The Arizona State defense has been really taking the Cyclones out of their game. Jada Williams back in with those 2 fouls. She is #1 in the Big 12 Conference in assists per game. And then a turnover on Jackson.
I really liked the ball screen action by Iowa State there, because it gets Audie Crooks away from the physicality on the low block. And then she can roll to the rim. And I think what could happen there was a retreat dribble by Jada Williams to give her more space and knock that one into Crooks on the roll.
Yeah, so they had early, but
yes,
they reversed, and then another turnover. 7 turnovers for Iowa State. Last year, Poa takes an extra step.
And to your point, Brenda, getting the ball into the post, it is an art that you have to do, an art and a science, and it has to be quick. Like you said, she was open, and that's when the guard's eyes have to be up and be able to put that on a dime right into her hands.
These 2 teams met in the second round last year, Iowa State winning that game. In that game, Addie Brown actually 41 points. She hasn't been as productive since she's been back from her injury, but she has the capability. She misses that shot there. And then last year, Poa commits an offensive foul in the backcourt. That's her second foul. And it will be Iowa State basketball. That's a key foul for Arizona State.
Yes, one of their biggest leaders on the court is last year, Poa. Look at, she steps out and actually tried to create that contact. Nice call by the official there to see that one and know that was an offensive move by last year, Poa.
Beatty over to Addie Brown, a foul away from the ball.
Did we say it was going to be physical out here today?
It is physical for sure. Are they calling that
physical
on? Okay, they are calling it on Arizona State. I didn't know if they had Audie Crooks for the swipe. Instead, it was
previous players under review for a possible upgrade.
Carrera gets the foul, and they're going to take a look at that, as you heard from Roy Gobayan, if there is a possible upgrade on that foul call.
So they're going to be looking at that entanglement between Carrera and Crooks and their elbows and where they finish there.
I mean, and this is exactly what you had a chance to talk to Molly Miller before the game. This is exactly what Arizona State wanted to do. They wanted to make Iowa State uncomfortable so they couldn't get the ball to Audie Crooks.
Uncomfortable, and continue to change up the defenses and give them different looks so that Iowa State couldn't settle and know exactly where to get the ball to Crooks. They called it even circling, and she showed me the motion with her hand. So they wanted to continue, whether they were fronting, whether they were side denial, whether they were playing behind, and then obviously with 3 and 4 people coming on that pass is a huge strategy for Arizona State.
Upon review, the contact initiated by the defender does not reach the criteria for a flagrant foul. The on-court ruling stands.
Still the second foul on Carrera, and she is the primary offensive weapon for Arizona State. She's got 12 points. She's the main defender for Crooks, and now she has 2 fouls.
You talk about the main defender as well, and she's the one who can bring the most physicality from the Arizona State team on the inside.
A delay of game warning on Arizona State, so they get one warning. Usually that's held for when you tap the ball out of bounds after a made shot, but in this case it was a delay for the Arizona State team coming back onto the court, so another delay of game results in a technical foul. Audie Crooks at the free throw line. She still hasn't had any field goal attempts just because it's been difficult to get her the basketball, but she's made all 4 of her free throws. But what will Arizona State do now that Carrera is not on the court? And it's amazing, Ann. Carrera with 12 points in this game. She was held scoreless in the game in Ames earlier this year. What a difference she is making in this one.
And you said it earlier at the beginning of the game about how much she's improved the last few weeks for Arizona State. 16 points per game over the last 4 games, but the options they have on offense, the ball's got to start going to Gabby Elliott and McKenna Brackens. What that's going to do for the guards for Arizona State is create some action, getting to the rim, getting back to the free throw line. That's what worked in the first 5 minutes of this game for Arizona State.
So the turnovers mounting up. Addie Brown from the top of the key, short.
She's missed a couple of those, but that's her shot. It only takes one for her to go down for Brown.
39% three-point shooter on the year. Remember, she was out 11 games with the lower back injury. And then now she picks up the foul inside as she is trying to defend Martina Fantini. That's the first foul on Addie Brown.
And you can see the Sun Devils, what they want to do is get the ball inside. They're playing 4 out, 1 in, and since Iowa State's playing behind, they want to get the ball into the post and see if they can get an easy look or a foul.
1 minute remaining in the first quarter. There has been a lot going on in the first quarter.
5 seconds left.
Gabby Elliott, no. And here comes Iowa State. An opportunity for a 2-for-1 if they go quickly. Baseline shot, got it. That time Kenzie Hare delivered the 3.
Well, what a huge shot and much needed bucket for Iowa State. Kenzie Hare, she has been very hot from downtown.
And what a smart move by Arizona State. Molly Miller told them to wait to inbound the ball until the clock was even with the shot clock. Iowa State had made a shot quickly enough they could have a 2-for-1, but instead Arizona State delayed the inbounds so that the shot clock and game clock are about even, so they have the last possession of the quarter. Elliott using the screen, rises up, rims in and out, and that's the way the first quarter will end. A run early for Arizona State to establish the lead, but Iowa State...
I think we need to monitor here in the second quarter.
Yeah, she had 10 straight points in Arizona State's 17-2 start to this game, but Iowa State answered back with a 7-0 run as we finished up the first quarter. Iowa State is #1 in the Big 12 in field goal percentage, but they are 2 of 11 right now from the field.
And one thing to note, since Audie Crooks has had those 4-for-4 on free throws, she's not shot a field goal yet. That is the defense just swarming her anytime they have the ball. But the last play was the look that they wanted out of the quarter timeout, was Ariana Jackson in that 3-point line.
Amaya Williams into the game, #1. Fantini takes it at Crooks, blocked with enthusiasm.
You're seeing Fantini here. Again, they're trying to go one-on-one against Crooks and really make her play defense, and then also try to get her in foul trouble. On the other side, Fantini, last time in Ames, Iowa, she played 8 minutes and fouled out. So that's how aggressive she was in that post play against Crooks.
Air ball from the top of the key for Williams. And Iowa State with the basketball. A little full court pressure from Levet, Jaya Levet into the game, the 5'8" junior, going to hound Williams in the backcourt. Remember, last year Poa is on the bench with a couple of fouls, as well as Carrera for Arizona State.
You see Addie Brown and Audie Crooks are trying to run a little high-low action and screen for each other.
Nice drive, and Williams just can't convert.
That was the right look. I'd like to see the Cyclones trying to attack downhill and get some penetration around the rim.
Brackens loses defenders, and finally, the first points of the game for Arizona State, not from a player off the bench. One of their starters finally scoring.
Brackens, she's just so tough to defend in that mid-range game. She's a 6'1" guard who can play a lot of defense, but also knock down those mid-range shots.
Short for Addie Brown, and she was fouled. She will go to the free throw line.
Arizona State foul on the board, Jaya Levette. That's her first team foul of the quarter.
This was a great play designed for Addie Brown to go one-on-one on the low block because, again, she's missed a couple of three-point shots, but now she has an opportunity to see the ball go through the net from the free throw line. Brenda and I mentioned in the open that she missed 11 games. We have another official review here.
Clock stopped once again. We had a problem with the game clock.
We are reviewing for another clock malfunction.
Game for Arizona State.
It is, you know, one of the things that their program talks a lot about is that they have 11 wins over the top 100 in the net. And another thing, talking to Coach Molly Miller earlier today, between West Virginia and Baylor, she said it was a one-possession game, and then they also beat Oklahoma State earlier this year, and those are the teams that had the double bye here in the Big 12 tournament. So
yeah, big
played
wins.
played a lot of close games, and the game here against Iowa State was close in that first half.
So while we were away, the officials set the clock to 8:32. They actually, each of the officials has a belt pack. When they blow the whistle, it helps stop precisely the clock as an offensive foul is called on Arizona State. For some reason, one of the belt packs they think may be malfunctioning and stopping the clock. So Roy Gobain, one of the officials, came over and told us if it continues to happen, they're just going to take off those belt packs today. From three-point range, Kenzie Hare missing that time. But Iowa State has closed within 8. Gabby Elliott, 16-point-a-game scorer. Brackens, also a great scorer typically for Arizona State. They've both been quiet here in the tournament.
And whenever Iowa State gets that defensive rebound, it's imperative that they push the pace and try to put pressure on that rim.
Addie Brown, excuse me, still 3 three-pointers she has missed from the top of the key, but well, you felt like she was in rhythm that time.
Yes, rhythm 3, and that's what they're looking for on that defensive board.
Fantini blocked by Brown.
And right there, but Jada Williams has so much pressure on her against this defense, but again, anytime she can try to get downhill, good things happen.
Addie Brown is feeling it, but just hasn't been able to get it to drop. 0 for 4 from three-point range, 0 for 5 overall.
I mean, those are the shots that Iowa State wants to shoot. When Jada creates a little action, nice kickback to Brown.
And they're going to call a foul on Audie Crooks as Fantini was trying to make a move and just a little bit of a bump. So that's the second foul on Crooks. And we're going to see her take a seat along with Jada Williams and Addie Brown.
And so this is the Arizona State strategy, is to try to attack Crooks and get her in foul trouble. You see there, they pulled her even away from the rim and put the ball on the floor.
Brackens, no, in and out. Beatty almost has her pocket picked, and then Beatty is going to commit the foul because she was trying to hold Jaya Levette away from the ball.
Levette is so tough one-on-one on this defense. Just look at her try to pick this pocket, and she was ready to head the other way and get that ball. So honestly, I think that's a pretty good foul by Beatty to slow her down. Then it's a dead ball that Arizona has to have instead of a fast break.
So since Carrera has been out of the game with the foul trouble, Arizona State's scoring has slowed considerably. Brackens has just had a tough night as well. She's now 1 for 6, and in the scramble, a foul committed.
Number 2, Ariana Jackson. Her first, third team foul.
Ariana Jackson committed her first foul. But neither team, and able to shoot from the floor here in the second quarter, combined 1 of 13 for both teams.
Yes, the defense has been stifling on both ends of the court. So eventually shots are going to start falling. And I think this goes back to what Coach Bill Friendly said about we got to play our way. We got to play the Iowa State way, stay within our system, and things are going to start to develop. And that also goes for the Sun Devils as well as how they've started out this game.
Nice pass, sets up Brackens, and she is fouled on the shot and will go to the free throw line for an N1, fouled by Sydney Harris.
So baseline out of bounds play. Harris just gets backdoored. That almost looked like it was a play from Arizona State where they gave each other the eye, went one way, and a quick fake back. And what a heads-up play by Brackens to even use the pump fake there to get the foul on one.
She completes the three-point play. Brackens now with 5 points. And the ball gets away from Beatty. Quickly out, though. Brown pushes ahead. Three-pointer, no. And another whistle, this time out of bounds. It's Arizona State basketball. Iowa State 1 of 13 from three-point range. A team that shoots 36% from beyond the arc.
And that's #1 in the Big 12 conference for three-point shooting. So this is what they do. They love to shoot the three, and once one of those starts going down, that's going to open up more things on the inside.
Elliott just took a couple of steps. I don't know if she was confused for a moment, but she picked up the ball and then just took a couple of steps.
Sometimes that happens.
I don't know if she heard a whistle or...
And we mentioned the three-point shooting is struggling for Iowa State.
Another turnover for Iowa State. Here comes Gabby Elliott. Goes around the defender. What a crafty move.
And this is the Arizona State style that they play. You see Coach Molly Miller down there with her hands up and trying to do the defense, but nice broken play here.
No whistle at all as players went to the floor holding body parts, and then the shot goes down, but both Davenport and Jada Williams were affected by that last play, and both of them have been shaken up. Let's take a look at what happened.
We got to take a look. Jada Williams doing everything she can to get downhill, but looks like she just falls back and hit her head pretty hard when she landed here. If you watch her on the very end, because of the movement, everyone was shifting, and that's why there was no ground underneath for their feet to land.
So they're going to take Jada Williams. They've got to take her back in the back tunnel to check her out. The basket was made by Williams and all of the activity in the paint. Williams rises, fires, hits. Amaya Williams with her first basket of the game extends this lead to 13. Arizona State doubling it up on Iowa State here in the early going.
These hard hedges by Arizona State, that's the right idea by Beatty, is to turn the corner.
Addie Brown finally gets her first basket of the game and one opportunity.
So this started all because of Beatty. This hard hedge came out, but what she did was continue to keep her dribble alive. Look at this hard hedge here. She goes back again, able to turn the corner with a nice little hesitation, drops it to Brown, and that is a big-time play for the end one for Addie.
Deborah Davenport with the foul. Addie Brown completing the three-point play. Now keep in mind, earlier today, both lower seeds won their games. It took a 21-0 run by Kansas State at the end of the first game to come back against Texas Tech. BYU was down double digits. They came back and beat Utah. Both those teams were the lower seeded teams, and the teams with the bye, that was their first game, lost. Iowa State is down big here in the early going as Brackens hits the jumper. Lovett is really hounding Reese Beatty. Then she gets called for the foul. Here's what we were talking about. Kansas State, the 12 seed, upsetting Texas Tech, the 5. And in that great rivalry between BYU and Utah, BYU coming back for the win. Addie Brown backing in her defender, kicking it out. Jackson, no. 1 of 14 from three-point range for the Cyclones.
Iowa State switching to a little 2-3 zone defense.
Love it. No. Brown with the rebound. Brown is just so valuable to this team. All the things that she contributes, passing, rebounding, scoring.
And she can bring those up the floor as well. And you saw her the ISO play, but that was really designed to get the 3 open. And there she is. Look at that excitement there, Brenda. Finally seeing one go through.
Well, and she's been frustrated because she's been so close. She was 0 for 4 before that. And this gets the Cyclones in attendance here at the T-Mobile Center fired up.
And if we didn't mention it earlier, she's from Derby, Kansas, which is about 200 miles from here. She also has a lot of family and friends that are in attendance here tonight supporting her in the Big 12 tournament.
Williams, Amaya Williams, no. And they're going to call a jump ball. Possession arrow Cyclones.
And Brenda, this is a really good sign for Iowa State that Jada Williams is back in. After hitting her head, they had to get that checked out for a concussion protocol in the back training room, but good to see her back on the court.
You mentioned Addie Brown not from too far away. Jada Williams is from right here in Kansas City, Missouri, as she goes right by Washenitz and is fouled, and that will put Iowa State in the bonus. Audie Crooks coming back onto the court with 2 fouls. Jada Williams is at the free throw line. She has 2 fouls. So Bill Fenley rolling the dice a little bit, putting 2 of his starters on the court with 2 fouls, while Arizona State has a couple of starters. Last year, Poa as well as Carrera on the bench with 2 fouls.
And yes, and that's something that they teach at Iowa State, is if you have 2 fouls, how to play safe. And these are very high basketball IQ players between Jada Williams and Audie Crooks to not try to get their 3rd here in the 2nd quarter.
Brackens misses the jumper. That free throw that Jada Williams missed was the first free throw miss of the game for the Cyclones. Again, the Arizona State defense has just been so tough inside and out all game. Crooks lines up from the free throw line short. Davenport with a rebound. Audie Crooks with just 4 points tonight. All 4 are from the free throw line. She has not hit a field goal yet. She only has 1 field goal attempt in the game. Brackens short. Cyclones pushing.
And Jada Williams here, I think the key is put pressure on the rim right there and try to get Arizona State in rotations.
3-point look, good for A.J. Jackson. And it's a 5-point game, under 2 minutes to play. 7-0 run for the Cyclones. Illegal screen on Davenport. And it'll be Iowa State basketball.
So the 3-pointer, the last play, it all started with a pass fake. That is fundamental basketball. Look at Addie Brown's eyes and the pass fake. And then that gets the defense just 1 step over. So Ariana Jackson can knock that down. And if we didn't mention, she is the #1 3-point shooter on this team. 93% of her shots come from behind the arc. And that's why Brown wants to get that ball to her.
Yeah, she's #3 in the country with 46% from 3-point range. Addie Brown misfiring on that 3. Arizona State just content to take their time here. Using the shot clock, 8 to shoot. Elliott using the screen, rises, fires, and connects. 4 points for Gabby Elliott. And Washenitz picks up the blocking foul, and that will send Jada Williams to the free throw line once again. So that's her second. So now 3 starters for Arizona State. Washenitz along with last year Poa and Carrera, all with 2 fouls.
And what the difference has been to get them in foul trouble is that the Iowa State guards have changed the rhythm of how they're dribbling. They're not just going at one pace. They're starting to use a hesitation dribble that gets the defense to stand up just a little bit, and then they're trying to blow by, and that's where you're starting to see the fouls mount up for the Sun Devils.
So Jada Williams goes to the bench. She's got the 2 fouls. Audie Crooks has 2 fouls. So now they're taking a seat as we go under the 1 minute mark to play here in the second quarter. Iowa State has outscored Arizona State 16-13 here in the second. Elliott comes around the screen, got another one. Back-to-back jumpers for Gabby Elliott.
She's just so long and can rise up. Elliott, she's the 7th leading scorer in the Big 12 at 16 a game, so got to get a hand up whenever she's in the middle of the lane.
Reese Beatty. Addie Brown straight away, short. And an offensive foul going to be called on Elisa Williams, going for the rebound.
And I like the aggression by Williams there, even though she gets called for the foul. It's going to put Arizona State into the bonus, I believe.
So it looks like we have another clock malfunction as Roy Gobayan goes over to see how much time should be on the clock.
Reviewing another clock malfunction, possible clock malfunction.
And again, when this happened earlier, Roy Gobayan came over to us and said that he thought that the packs on the belts of the officials, one of them may have been stopping the clock erroneously, and so they may have to take those off. It's a tool, and that's used to help more accuracy typically, but here's what was happening. That the clock just stops right there in the middle of the Iowa State possession.
And a lot of time it clicked off between that pass, so it's not just a couple of seconds they're going to look at, but want to get this right, especially as they go down also for the free throws on the other end, because that'll make a difference whether Arizona State gets a rebound or Iowa State has an opportunity to score at the end of the half.
So as I was explaining, the belt pack that the officials have is used to try to have more accurate timing, because when they blow the whistle, the clock stops immediately. So that way you don't have to worry about somebody pushing the button at the right time. That's why they have it, and but might be part of the problem this evening as they're taking a look at it. We might be down to 9 seconds.
After review, the game clock will be reset to 21.8 seconds.
So 9 seconds came off the clock. So they set it to 21.8, and Arizona State will walk down for their free throw attempts.
Excellent work by our camera crew there to zoom in so you can see what's been working for those packs.
So Gabby Elliott at the line, 6 points. This is her first trip to the free throw line, a 77% free throw shooter. She transferred over from Penn State last year, has had quite a journey coming here, starting at Clemson, going to Michigan State, and then Penn State before coming to Arizona State for this, her final year. Shot clock is off. 10 seconds remaining in the half.
1-4 low for Williams.
No foul called, and that's the way the first half will end. Arizona State coming out with a big first half of play. They're 22-4 this year when lead. It was Eloise Carrera, who led the way with 12 points, but she only played 7 minutes because she picked up 2 fouls, or this might be an even bigger margin for Arizona State. As we start the third quarter here in Kansas City, Arizona State in the black uniforms have the first possession of the half.
And you saw those points in the paint, 16-4 for Arizona State on that call.
And an offensive foul on Gabby Elliott, who really played well in the second quarter. She had 7 points at the end, but she gets the foul here.
Yeah, she's trying to turn the corner, but Ariana Jackson is one of the best defenders for Iowa State at taking charges, and you saw Elliott using and extended out that arm bar.
That's the second foul for Elliott, so now 4 starters for Arizona State have 2 fouls. And finally, the first field goal of the game for the leading scorer in the Big 12 Conference comes at the beginning of the third quarter.
I think these Iowa State fans can take at least a little breath, but did you see how they had to execute that? That was a pass that was on the money, and Crooks had in her hand for under a second being able to get that one off.
Top of the key, wide left, that time for Jada Williams. And if you get one pass into Audie Crooks, wouldn't you try to get another one right afterwards?
Of course, you know, Matthew, you're Coach Brenda over here. You know what's up. It's like, yes, if it works one time, especially to your #1 player on the team, try to take that back at her.
So a foul called on Addie Brown, her second. We are going to keep an eye on these fouls because it may become a factor in this game. Washington's no. Good rebound by Lastier Poa. And this time the foul on Ariana Jackson.
And you mentioned Carrera with the foul trouble. Lastier Poa as well, only played 8 minutes in there. And she's one of those hustle players and is a leader. And you saw her crashing the board from all the way out on the three-point wing.
There's Carrera back in the game. She hasn't scored since the 3:14 mark in the first quarter, but she leads all scorers with 12 points. She had a fantastic first quarter, but picked up 2 fouls. Gabby Elliott with a tough 3-point shot.
Wow, Elliott, she's one of those players that doesn't get too high or too low for Arizona State. She had 2 torn ACLs, and so she always wants to live in the moment. I love the way that she just read that screen. Iowa State's defense went under the screen. She pulled back.
Williams with the spin cycle.
That's what you call a response out of halftime by Jada Williams.
Elliott with another 3. Got it. We're heating up now.
And you see Elliott's expression right there. She can knock those down, and it won't change. She is calm, cool, and easy for Arizona State.
Gabby Elliott with 13 points. And another steal as Iowa State tries to get the ball inside to Crooks.
We talked about this in the first quarter for Iowa State, is that lob pass. Arizona State is too fast at moving on defense. It's got to be a crisp pass into her.
Elliott bounces one in.
Oh, there's a little smile. That's the first one we've seen from her. When you score 8 points in a row in 2 minutes, you can start smiling a little bit.
Iowa State has not led in this game. They have played from behind the entire game, but they get a big 3-pointer from Kinsey Hare there.
And Kinsey Hare struggled earlier in the mid-season, but the last 6 games, she's 15 for 30 coming into this game from behind the arc. So she's somebody they can really rely on to knock that long ball down.
Brackens, everybody's feeling it now.
Who said it was a defensive battle in here? Everybody's raining trays.
Yeah, this is an Arizona State team not known for their offense, but they are known for their defense, and they swarm Audie Crooks, as she goes down hard. It's a jump ball. It will stay on this end. But again, Ann, another example of every time the ball goes inside, there are 3 defenders right there.
They were all over her on the inside. Look at all 3 are ready to trap on Crooks. For Iowa State, Brenda, what I think their offense needs is a little bit more body movement. So some cutting, screening, getting some action to put Arizona State having to guard more instead of always being ready to jump on Crooks.
Crooks trying to get out of the paint and couldn't, but instead Hare with the three-pointer. Everybody is hot. 21 combined points in just over 3 minutes here in the third quarter.
Gotta love it. That's what you came for.
Oh, and she gets called for the offensive foul this time. That's her third.
Last year, that's her third. Second team foul.
Last year, Poa, again, it's the extension on that elbow, and Jada Williams continues to stay in position to be able to call that one.
This is an Iowa State team that has been through so much adversity with the injuries. They're the only team in the country that lost 5 games in a row and then came back and won 5 games in a row. The way they have responded during the course of the season, you'd think that sets them up in this game. But Arizona State is playing so well, and they are red hot here in the third quarter as Washington knocks down a 3.
Well, what did everybody talk about in those halftime speeches? My goodness, you can see the ball is moving with a lot of energy for both teams, and it's with movement.
And a steal for Arizona State's defense. And a turnover. A 3 short.
You can see this is one of the first plays of this half that they've actually slowed down, and something wasn't happening within the first couple of actions of a half-court offense.
Arizona State is 4 of 4 from beyond the arc in the third quarter. Carrera going to work, and she draws the foul on Elisa Williams, who is in for Crooks.
Elisa Williams, that's her second. Third team foul.
It's her second foul. Audie Crooks checking in.
Check back in for Iowa State.
And Carrera, who was so good in the first quarter, scoring all of her points in the first 7 minutes of the game. She's got 12. That's her first point since the 3:14 mark left in the first quarter, because she picked up those 2 fouls. She's got 14 total, and she will take a breather as Davenport replaces her. 14-point lead for Arizona State. Bounce pass it into Crooks, and she's fouled on the shot. Kept that pivot foot, rotated around over 2 defenders. And we'll have immediate timeout. Arizona State 4 for 4 from 3-point range coming out of the halftime locker room. 8 points. Audie Crooks didn't have a field goal in the first half, but she is 2 of 2, and she's at the free throw line as we return.
Definitely made some huge adjustments at halftime about how to get her the basketball. And she's a player that has to touch the ball in the offense, because you see how many people come around her. That's also going to start opening up the outside, with Kenzie Hare knocking down a couple to start the third.
Both teams have ramped up their 3-point shooting. Arizona State was just 1 of 6 in the first half. They're 4 for 4 here in the third quarter. On the other end, Iowa State was 1 of 14 in the first half. So un-Iowa State that they're 4 of 9 since. And a foul called on Iowa State. On Reese Beatty, her second.
Iowa State staying with their player-to-player defense.
And getting a turnover. Biggest lead of the game for Arizona State has been 15. Iowa State has not led in this game. They have played from behind the entire game after getting down 17-2 to start the game. Poa, Carrera. Washinitz looking inside, knocked away by Williams. Williams thinks it may have been off Arizona State, but she's not confident enough to tell Coach Finley to appeal it.
The coaches always have to double check and be like, and you know, time and score, do they want to save that appeal until later?
Tough move inside by Brackens, going around Audie Crooks.
The Sun Devil offense has been working, so they've knocked down a couple of threes to start, but now they want to go back to their 4-out, 1-in because Iowa State's playing one-on-one in the post.
Audie Crooks kept that one alive. Beatty with 8 on the shot clock. 5. They go up over the top to Crooks, who takes her time, scores, and draws the foul on Carrera. Boy, the shot clock was winding down.
And on that play, I was watching Audie Crooks on how many times she was posting and trying to repost as the ball went from one side to the other. But Beatty with a nice lob. Usually Arizona State has been on top of that, but Crooks gathers and is able to finish.
Carrera committed the foul, but she took a little bit of an elbow in the face as Audie Crooks came down from the shot. Crooks hasn't missed a free throw. She's 6 of 6, and she has 12 points on the game. Three-pointer, no. Addie Brown turning the corner. Looking for Crooks. Well defended by Brackens. Addie Brown. It's an 8-point deficit for the Cyclones.
And you're starting to hear the Cyclone fans in the background that Iowa State has cut this under 10.
Good rebound by Carrera as Audie Crooks got stuck out putting a hand up on Elliott, and there was nobody to block out Carrera, excuse me. Addie Brown looking inside. Sydney Harris rims in and out. Elliott was trying to post up, and a just great hustle move by Jada Williams.
It's right here. This should be one. Looking for Crooks on the inside for Iowa State.
Good movement by Carrera as she just moves around Crooks. Crooks tried to go for the rebound, and she slams her fist on the floor as she was fouled. That's the third foul on Marley Washinitz.
See, Audie Crooks was actually in the right place, right time. They're trying to get the board.
There's where Washinitz picks up the foul. So already in the bonus. I should say already. It's 1:40 remaining in the third quarter.
Audie Crooks at the line, shooting 2.
Audie Crooks at the line. Has been perfect tonight. On the year, Crooks a 74% free throw shooter. All Big 12 first teamer once again for the third year in a row. Misses her first free throw attempt. Arizona State has been in command this entire game. Can they finish with a minute and a half to go here in the third quarter? We've seen two teams come back from double-digit deficits already today in the Big 12 tournament. Brackens, boy, she was short on a lot of shots in the first half, but she has been good lately.
And that's her shot, that baseline 12-footer. You got to credit Fantini going after the offensive rebound. Those are the ones that Iowa State has got to get on a defensive box out.
14 points for Brackens. Williams banking it in, and Audie Crooks getting tied up with Fantini in the lane, going down hard. And a foul going to be called on Arizona State. On Fantini, that's her second.
She's just taken, it's been so physical, taking a beating underneath there, whether it's been on the box out, the rebounds, or trying to score underneath the rim.
But Iowa State hit the jumper, and then the foul was called on Arizona State, so they will get an opportunity to add to this possession. And as you see, as we'll update you, Roy Gobain, you notice that he does not have that pack on his belt right now. The officials took those off because it kept malfunctioning in the first half and inadvertently stopping the clock. And so all the officials took those belt packs off here in the second half. Back-to-back misses by Audie Crooks. 97 consecutive games in double figures for Audie Crooks. But missing 3 free throws after starting so well from the line. She had started 7 of 7 and now has missed the last 3 in a row. How much of that is fatigue from just getting beat on inside physically as Elliott is fouled?
Iowa State foul number 24, Addie Brown. That's her third personal.
The third foul on Addie Brown. Arizona State led by 8 at the half. It went to double digits, back down to single digits, but they have maintained the lead. Gabby Elliott drains the first free throw. Plays with that right knee brace. Is not 100% after all those surgeries she's had in her career, but what a competitor.
Yes, we mentioned she's had 2 torn ACLs. This is their third school, really been able to thrive here under Coach Molly Miller's system for Arizona State.
Brooks looking for it inside. Addie Brown missing short. And the shot clock is off.
Looks like they're going to go to a 1-4 low with Elliott. Okay, 2-man game with her and Brackens, both who have been having great third quarters.
Elliott takes it right at Brown with the 3 fouls, and that's the 4th foul on Addie Brown as Elliott scores and has an and-one opportunity.
What worked so well here for Arizona State on that play was it was basically a ghost screen. They pretended they were going to screen, and Elliott just crosses over and gets downhill, puts her body in just enough contact against Brown, and she can't believe it. She knows that is a huge foul going into the 4th quarter.
With 2 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter, Elliott goes to the line to finish the 3-point play, and she does. 13 of her 20 points have been scored here in the 3rd quarter. Iowa State going to go for the long ball. They throw it up. Gets knocked out of bounds. 1.2 seconds on the clock, but it gives Iowa State a chance to score in the front court.
Yeah, there's still time for a catch and shoot.
Over the top, the 2-pointer short for Iowa State. Arizona State outscoring the Cyclones 27-21 to build upon this lead. We go to the 4th quarter.
It's right here across the Big 12. That's why they call it a different league here. That is the motto, because the competition across the league, the parity, you're seeing it here in the Big 12 tournament, but it's been happening all season in conference play.
Arizona State up 60-47 as we start the 4th quarter. Gabby Elliott has been on fire. She has that one partially blocked as she came off a game where she only had 4 points in the win over Arizona last night, but she has 20 points today, and 13 of those points were in the 3rd quarter. The baseline jumper from Ariana Jackson for the Cyclones.
And that's such a huge shot and momentum shifter for Iowa State. Once you start a quarter, you come out and you get your #1 3-point shooter to have her first knockdown.
Addie Brown is on the bench for the Cyclones as she picked up her 4th foul with 2 seconds remaining in the 3rd. Brackens has also come alive. She also didn't play well, shoot well, I should say, against Arizona. She only had 5 points last night. She's got 16 today.
And Coach Molly Miller said she only played 25 minutes with foul trouble. And she goes, hey, you should be pretty rested for today. It looks like she's doing it.
Crooks misses and can't retrieve the rebound and is frustrated there was no foul call.
And that was about the best look that Brown has had without 3 defenders on her immediately for that first shot. Excuse me, Crooks.
I know who you mean.
Okay. I'm sure everybody listening did too.
Washington for 3.
And a huge shot by Marley Washnitz. Her dad Frank and her mom Terry both played in college at Fairmont State. That's where she learned how to hoop.
And a foul called on Washnitz as she fouled Kinsey Hare in the act of shooting a 3-pointer. So Washnitz got the 3 on one end, but then she commits her 4th foul, fouling Kinsey Hare on the 3-point attempt.
It's kind of how like the first quarter, or excuse me, the 3rd quarter started. You had a 3 on one end, and yes, gets that closeout and underneath her feet there on Hare.
Hare missing the first free throw, even though she's a 41% 3-point shooter. On the year, she's only a 50% free throw shooter. Just 15 of 30 coming into the tournament, and she misses there. Takes a deep breath. And she gets the 3rd. Poa taking her time.
I was just going to mention that, Brenda. One of the things that Arizona State can do now is try to use as much shot clock as they can on each possession and work on that shot selection that they want.
Foul called on Jackson. That's her 3rd. First team foul, and Addie Brown going to come back in with the 4 fouls. But Iowa State's in a mode here. They need to make a comeback, and if they're going to, Addie Brown needs to be on the court.
And another thing that they need to do is start applying more pressure on the outside, because otherwise Arizona State's just going to take their time trying to look for their shot.
And they get the shot. Elliott, one of her few misses here in the 2nd half. Crooks,
oh, there you go,
gets the ball but kind of lost her balance a little bit, but went and got the offensive rebound and put back.
I was so impressed with Brown's post-entry pass. That was one of the first bounce passes that they've put into Crooks, and that she was so open, I think she didn't know what to do with the ball underneath there.
Crooks with 15 points, leading the scores for Iowa State. Hare and Brown both have 10 for Iowa State. On the other end, Carrera and Brackens with 16 points each, following Gabby Elliott with 20. There's Carrera. Can't get it to go over Crooks. Here come the Cyclones. The Cyclones have played from behind this entire game. Arizona State has been impressive. And then a foul on Brackens called a blocking foul.
Arizona State foul number 21, McKenna Brackens. Her first personal, 2nd team foul.
Just her first. Crooks all by herself this time and scores it. So we don't see the triple team around her like we did in the first half, and she's starting to get some scoring going.
And Jada Williams timed that perfectly to be able to find her open. So Iowa State now has 2 stops in a row and 2 scores in a row, and that's exactly what you need in the 4th quarter to chip away at this lead from Arizona State.
Brackens turns, and a blocking foul called on the drive.
So you can kind of see it here, but watch Brackens. Not sure if she extended, but they also saw Beatty moving her feet, trying to get positioning.
Elliott, and she's fouled.
Iowa State foul, number 12, Kinsey Hare.
Kinsey Hare picks up her first foul, and Elliott just keeps putting pressure on this defense with her scoring. Fantini set to check in for Carrera. Remember, this Arizona State team, when they went to Ames on February 18th, lost to the Cyclones 90-64. They've held the Cyclones to just 54 points so far in this game.
When you and I had the opportunity to talk with Coach Miller before the game, that was one of the biggest points of emphasis, was slowing the game down. She said this game has to be in the 70s. We can't just trade buckets with Iowa State, and they have executed that game plan so far for 34 minutes of this game, or 36, excuse me.
And a foul on the drive. They're not going to count that basket. Roy Gobayan says it's on the floor as Beatty was fouled on the drive.
Her third, 13 foul.
It's the third foul on Gabby Elliott. And it almost stripped right out of Crook's hand when she brought it down to her waist. Beatty falling away, hits it, and a timeout called by Bill Finley. The biggest lead of the game for Arizona State was 16. The Cyclones have trimmed it to 10 with 5:43-17, but Arizona State has played from ahead the entire game.
They have. They've been aggressive. They call it relentless on the defense, and that's also showing up on the rebounds. They have a +10 advantage, 35-25 on the boards, and just have really caused disruption, which is the main word on the Iowa State offense, clogging the lane.
The winner of this game will advance to play the number 2 seed West Virginia in tomorrow's quarterfinals. And then an offensive foul called on Washenitz. Kind of slipped as she went to make her move and put her hand out. And that's her 5th foul. As Washenitz will go to the bench with 6 points for the night, 1 rebound, 1 assist. They both kind of slipped, but you saw that the push off by Washenitz as she went down, that's where the foul is called.
Well, she went down, and it looks like Jada Williams almost just tripped on that one, but that's a tough one for Arizona State with Washenitz going out. But where can Iowa State take the advantage? And Jada Williams trying to make something happen. Motion with the left.
Well, she tried to draw contact and just threw the ball up there, and somehow it went in, and we've got a single-digit game.
Wow.
Levette. That's going to be an offensive foul as well. Levette just lowered her shoulder and drove Williams back. And that's her 3rd foul. And Williams slow to get up. And we will step aside. We've got a good one here in Kansas City. 9-point lead for Arizona State. At one time, Iowa State has cut it to 9 in the last 3.5 minutes. Under 5 minutes remaining. A trip to the quarterfinals to play West Virginia on the line. Also, Arizona State's NCAA tournament hopes might be pinned on this game, as they have played terrific. Great defense on Crooks that time.
That's just so tough inside. Once Crooks gets that ball, to be able to score around 2 and 3 people. You got to credit the Sun Devils of the defense they've been able to play and how fast they're moving when the pass comes in.
6 on the shot clock. Carrera screens for Elliott. Elliott trying to add to her total, closing in on a triple-double in this game as she has 22 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists for the Sun Devils.
For the Cyclones right now, this is about playing with pace in the offense. You want to get that ball popping.
And they try to go for the three. Crooks with the rebound has it stripped away. And Arizona State very content to take as much time as they can.
You see last year, Poa, she knows time and score. She won that national championship with LSU, knows how to run the clock and manage a game, especially down to the wire here.
Elliott using the screen again, picks up her dribble. 7 to shoot. Carrera turns, spins, and is fouled. Was she fouled from behind, or was she fouled by Crooks? We're checking to see who the foul is called on. It was on Crooks, and it's her third.
Now, anytime Arizona State has had the opportunity to go one-on-one against Crooks in the low post, they have taken advantage of that, and that's been Carrera for most of the game. With her back to the basket, she's just making a move and turning. You can see her 16 points, and she had such an explosive first quarter for Arizona State and coming on strong here in the fourth.
She hits the first free throw. I thought Addie Brown might have come from behind and gotten a hand on it. That would have been her 5th foul. That's why I was watching to see who the foul was on, but clearly it was on Crooks. Carrera misses the second. That's her first miss from the free throw line. She was 7 of 7 before that.
And with Jada Williams back in the game, you can see her energy. She's playing with a lot of tenacity, and that's what you need, because there has to be pace in this offense for the Cyclones to get some movement and quick shots at the rim.
They've got a lot of ground to cover right now as Gabby Elliott picks up the foul. That's her 4th foul. And Iowa State is in the bonus, so let's take a look at that again.
See, you look at the inbounds pass, Addie Brown takes a look and gets it into her immediately. And that is what has been working for Iowa State. They just need more of that and earlier in those first 10 seconds of the shot clock.
Remember, Audie Crooks made her first 7 free throws in a row and then missed the last 3 in a row. Make that 4 in a row for Crooks, a terrific free throw shooter on the year. A 74% free throw shooter, but she's missed 4 in a row. She nails that one. Cuts the lead to 9. Crooks will take a seat. 14 of Audie Crooks' 18 points have been scored here in the second half.
It looks like Iowa State switched back to a player-to-player defense instead of their zone, and that's the kind of ball pressure they need right now against Arizona State.
Addie Brown playing with the 4 fouls. Brackens, no. Good hustle play, but they could not convert. Gabby Elliott was right there for the offensive rebound, but couldn't score it. Kenzie Hare with the ball. Iowa State has to move quickly. Williams rims in and out. Big rebound, as going to the floor is Jackson. Stepping back, Williams short this time. Another offensive rebound. And then a miscue by Williams on the dribble. Boy, that would have given Iowa State a real chance. Are their chances going away right now?
So many opportunities and hustle plays on the offensive end, as you were calling that, for Iowa State. Just couldn't convert those long shots. And you're going to see the Sun Devils here again. They're shooting it with 4 seconds left on the shot clock.
Double team, 2 on the shot clock. Brackens hoists it. Catches the rim, but they use the entire shot clock. Iowa State has to hurry. A little screen and pick and pop, and Addie Brown hits it, and Bill Finley calls a timeout. This is as close as Iowa State has been in the second half. They got within 6 points with 9:26 left in the third quarter. That 3 made it a 6-point game. 1:39 remaining in this game.
And Brenda, when you were calling those offensive rebounds and Jada Williams missed 2 three-pointers, then had the turnover. What she did right there was she was about ready to pull that one again, but Addie Brown pops out, and that is the key of why that play worked. Look at Jada Williams could have shot that one, but she knows her teammate Brown, and that was excellent decision-making by Jada Williams and huge under pressure for Addie Brown.
And she's got 13 points and 11 rebounds for a double-double for Iowa State. As we look at the reset, Arizona State has 4 timeouts left. Iowa State with only 1 remaining. And they're going to pick up some full court pressure. What's at stake? A trip to the quarterfinals against West Virginia, but Arizona State needs a win to stay in the NCAA tournament, according to Charlie Cream. Iowa State considered one of the last 4 in right now.
And you're seeing out of that timeout that they wanted to put on the full court pressure, trying to cause a turnover in the gaps.
And Williams getting out in the passing lane, committing the foul. Poe going to the floor hard on the collision. Third foul on Williams.
Jada Williams trying to go over on the handoff, but yeah, totally got her on that lower body where Poe ended up hitting the deck.
So Audie Crooks has checked back in. Last year, Poa is at the free throw line. Just 5 points, but 7 rebounds, and has been controlling the tempo here in the second half for Arizona State. As you mentioned, has great experience as she was a part of that LSU national championship team in 2023. And you can just see the maturity as a 5th-year player and that experience in tight situations. And she nails both free throws. Big to extend that lead back to 8. Hair too strong. Gabby Elliott will let it go out of bounds. And Iowa State will pick up full court again. They take Crooks out defensively and have a more guard-heavy lineup.
And Iowa State wants to try to get a steal or a foul quickly within this first 10 seconds of the shot clock.
And Poa throws the ball at Brown off her leg as she didn't have anywhere to go. She's in a really awkward place on the court. She was way in the corner, but now they've moved her over on the baseline. Still looking to inbound. Got it to Brackens. Brackens double teamed, and here comes the steal, and not able to come up with it. Reese Beatty looked like she was jumping the passing lane and just couldn't get there.
And one thing to know for the Sun Devils, every player on their court is one of their best free throw shooters, as you see Beatty trying to make that hustle play. That's what you want out of your full court press right now. Just wasn't able to hang on to the basketball. And again, for the Sun Devils, every player that's out there, they've got their best free throw shooters that all shoot over 70 and 80%.
Trying to get it inbounds. It was touched by Hare. She gets it. Steal and the score cuts the lead to 6. What a steal for Iowa State. And the full court pressure continues. And a blocking foul this time on Kenzie Hare, who had just gotten that steal and score for the Cyclones.
Iowa State foul number 12, Kenzie Hare, her second.
Well, just look at this huge steal by Kenzie Hare. She gets it with a fingertip going the other direction for Iowa State. Can't draw it up any better than that on a press, and this is still a lot of time to play. This is what Iowa State can do under a minute to go. They love to shoot the three-pointer, so 6 points is really within their realm.
You talked about the great free throw shooters on the court for Arizona State. Poa, an 84% free throw shooter. She knocks that one down very calmly. Under a minute to play. Iowa State only with 1 timeout remaining. Misses that one. 7-point deficit for Iowa State. Three-pointer from the corner, short, and Poa there for the rebound. Poa trying to outrace everybody, and Crooks has to commit the foul.
Iowa State foul number 55, Audie Crooks.
That three-pointer would have drawn Iowa State within 4, but Audie Crooks picks up her 4th foul, and Poa, who is 3 of her last 4 free throws, steps to the line. Big inhale, exhale, and buries the free throw. So much credit to this Sun Devil squad, as when they went to Iowa State earlier this year, they were beaten 90-64. Since joining the Big 12, they have never beaten Iowa State and have given up 90 points or more every time they played them. Addie Brown, no. A chase for the loose ball. Out to Hare, to Addie Brown again. And then a blocking foul. Oh my. A blocking foul was called before the three-point shot went down for Iowa State. And Gabby Elliott will go to the bench. What a game she has had. The double-double, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. And she slightly trips Jackson there. I think Iowa State would rather have the three-point shot that went down.
You can see that.
But Gabby Elliott with a tremendous game, nearly a triple-double. And now for tonight's player of the game, brought to you by Phillips 66. It has to be Gabby Elliott, the way she has played tonight.
A 6-year player, you see it right there, almost a triple-double, and can't even mention how much her defense has affected the game throughout this entire 40 minutes.
Timeout called after only 1 free throw was made, and Molly Miller's squad will advance the ball to the front court now with an 8-point lead. Here's a look back at what Elliott did. Nearly a triple-double.
She did it from all over. In the start of the third quarter, she hit these back-to-back three-pointers that really got Arizona State going. She had 8 points within those first 2 minutes, but then she was rebounding. She was defending. She was assisting on the offense. The place really ran through her, but what I noticed the most was her defense. That gap defense that she played was always in the action whenever Crooks got the basketball. So that's hard to show up on the stat sheet that she nearly had a triple-double, but got to credit her incredible defense that she played and executing the Arizona State game plan.
Arizona State only 2 of 9 from the floor this quarter, but they're 8 of 10 from the free throw line, and that's where they're going to have the opportunity to salt it away.
Iowa State foul on number 1, Reese Beatty. That's her 4th.
Beatty picks up her 4th foul. And it sends Amaya Williams to the free throw line. Just a 59% free throw shooter as Crooks checks back in for Reese Beatty for the offensive substitution. Williams' first trip to the free throw line tonight. Misses the first. The 5'8" freshman from Mission Viejo, California. And she makes the second. Iowa State only with the 1 timeout remaining. They're saving that. Williams into the double team to Brown. Brown has it tied up by Poa. Another great defensive play by Poa. It stays on this end, but last tier Poa continuing to bring the defense.
And she picked up full court as well. So she was dogging on Jada Williams that entire play and then worked in the rotation. Knew the kick out was going to come to the 3-point line.
It may be too much time and too much of a deficit for Iowa State to overcome. They go to Crooks, to Brown, back to Crooks. Missing inside, she's fouled, and will have an opportunity for a 3-point play.
Arizona State foul number 13.
Even with a free throw, they're still 2 possessions down.
Audie Crooks at the line, shooting 1.
Audie Crooks, big second half here for Iowa State. Only had 4 points in that first half.
So she makes the free throw. Arizona State calls the timeout with 10.9 seconds remaining, and crazier things have happened. But what does Arizona State just need? Iowa State has cut the lead to as close as 6 points, but they've never gotten closer than 6 points here in the second half. Molly Miller looking on, such a successful coach. Every stop that she has made along the way, from Drury down in Springfield, Missouri to Grand Canyon. She's, over the last 2 years at Grand Canyon, 54-12, the best turnaround in Arizona State history this year, to move this team from where they were last year at 10-22 overall to now on the verge of 24-9.
Just incredible what she's been able to do. She came in, brand new program, had 10 new players. She said, you know, we just started to know each other 9 months ago and really wanted to build the culture on relentless defense and players that brought a lot of energy. And Brenda, you said it was impressive, and it was from the tip throughout how they were executing their game plan.
Last year, Poa buries both free throws and probably puts this one away for Arizona State. Iowa State went through a stretch where Addie Brown was out of the lineup for 11 games in a row. They lost 5 games in a row. And it will take a miracle for them to come back in this game. Arizona State with a tremendous game here in Kansas City, in an environment where so many Iowa State fans were making it like a home court advantage for the Cyclones. Audie Crooks misses the 3, and a timeout is called on the miss. On the rebound, Molly Miller will take it to the front court, and from the beginning,
and we said earlier they've won 11 out of the top 100 net games, so a lot of great victories already on their belt for Arizona State.
And Williams fouled and will go to the line. On the day, we talked about the great game for Gabby Elliott with 22 points. Carrera with 17, Bracken 16, Poa with 12. And with that foul on the other side, it will be Audie Crooks taking a seat with 5 fouls. Held in check in the first half. No field goals in the first half. 4 free throws. Finished with 21 points and 7 rebounds. But Molly Miller's game plan against Audie Crooks and the Iowa State Cyclones was stellar.
From defense to offense, they just brought a lot of energy and juice, and followed again for 40 minutes. Never kind of got nervous while Iowa State was making their runs.
And that will do it. The trend continues. Every team with a bye in the Big 12 tournament today has lost, and Arizona